Hey everyone, Bits and Bobs coming at you on a Friday. There's a kind of quasi-mailbag feel to this edition. Happy to say, here in studio, Will Slattery once again here. Will, hello.
Hi Joe.
And overseeing the slowest growth of any YouTube channel on planet Earth is Conan.
Do you want me to come in here now after that? Do you want to try it again?
It's off the charts.
Off the charts. We've already smashed. We've 50% exceeded our 2025 targets.
Yeah, that was a masterclass in setting a low target, whether you meant to or not. Yeah. So if anyone wants to find our dedicated YouTube channel, then at Indosport Podcast, search that on YouTube. That's how you'll find it. That's how your KPIs. Is it a KPI? I'm not good on the lingo.
Yeah, why not?
No, it's more of a target.
There was no KPI until you started asking me about it live on air.
That's where you find us on YouTube anyway. If you want to email in, lots of you have, and we'll get to those emails in a moment. Indosportpodcast@independent.ie. A few quick things going on. So European football, obviously here and elsewhere, is dominating back pages. Champions League draw was made this morning. Our last 16 draw. So I think it's a doozy. I think it's good. Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid jumps off the page. Atletico, brilliant this year.
Yeah.
Will and I, we touched on Real yesterday. Really good. So, I mean, that is tasty. Liverpool have PSG. You'd make Liverpool strong favourites.
Strong favourites.
Strong favourites.
But
They're playing at the moment.
Yeah, and the other option was Benfica, and they would have been the other side of the draw. 50% chance of being on a different side of the draw of a different team, and now they've got PSG, and as Will says, the way they're playing at the moment, and they've also finished top of the group.
They'll cruise through that.
They finished top of the Champions League, and their reward is PSG.
A slight grain of sand in the Swiss model is that Liverpool, after fighting is it 8 games they played in the league phase, as you say, topping the group, and then it was like a 50-50 chance between themselves and Barcelona getting one of them an easy side of the draw. Like Barcelona avoid Liverpool, Real Madrid, Arsenal, Villa of course, and Liverpool at PSG.
There's a side of death. Oh, I didn't realise that. I hadn't looked into the side of the draw yet. Yeah, I'm just moment focused, game by game.
Yeah.
No, they'll cruise. PSG, no. Arsenal have PSV, and then Club Brugge will say goodbye to European football as Aston Villa.
Oh,
here we go.
Wow. And who do Aston Villa have after Club Brugge? Gee, oh my God, let's not clip that up. Who do Aston Villa have if they beat Club Brugge?
Who?
Liverpool or PSG.
You're right. We touched on it yesterday, so won't repeat it. Villa just a very average season for a good-looking team. Ninth.
Oh yeah.
Do you know?
They haven't been good at all in the Premier League. They've been good in the Champions League.
Well, they have. But Atletico, Real Madrid, just an amazing game. Because the Liga, as Liverpool sort of jog into the distance, it feels like might be the title race that we all get interested in. Barcelona 51 points, whereas Real Madrid and Atletico are just 1 point back. So that is a hell of a 3-horse race. Do you know what I saw this morning? And I wondered when this would start. AI predicting tournaments. So it was the Daily Mail. AI technology has predicted the outcome of the Champions League.
Come on. Whatever happened to an octopus putting their
The eventual outcome or the outcome of the draw?
The winners of the Champions League. Yeah. So AI supercomputer has.
Who was it?
Liverpool.
I don't like that.
But I did wonder, what if AI? I mean, look, there'll be a lot of downsides to AI, it would seem, not least our extinction. But if AI was to get so adept that it could predict sport, that would be very damaging, tricky terrain for everyone. Not least this show.
Could AI have predicted Darwin Núñez's miss the other night? Even though it was Darwin Núñez, I'm not sure there's a sophisticated sentient technology.
You might be underestimating AI. I don't know. Look, from this vantage point, it feels like it would be a hell of an achievement if AI could. But just yesterday I was reading that there was some... I don't want to veer too much into science here because I'm on thin ice. But in effect,
you're on the AI camp right now.
Yeah. It's a fascinating time. So there was a certain type of bacteria that could evade antibiotics. And the top scientists in the world had spent 10 years trying to work out why this was happening, various theories, to try and, you find out what's happening, you can counteract, and then the antibiotics work. 10 years it took them to find the correct answer, what was going on. AI, 2 days.
Joe. You know what your problem is here?
Well, a lot of problems.
You're not a romantic, all right? Because that's all well and good.
Yeah.
Football doesn't follow the laws of physics.
But there are a lot of variables that AI will be able to take on board. It won't know Erling Haaland isn't going to start. There'll always be that little bit of mystery.
It won't know that there's a firework display at Villa Park before the second leg at home.
I give you all that. But it would have a lot of information to use.
AI can't smell the temperature of a game. It can't sniff an opportunity. It can't replicate the magic. I know I'm sounding like an old scout in Moneyball now. That's saying you can't predict this game using your little computer.
I hope you're right.
I think I am.
One thing AI...
Well, it's hard to know.
One thing it could do is replicate this exact conversation we're having about AI. Given the amount of hours of recordings there are of us on podcasts, it could probably pretty quickly put together bits and bobs and say, AI, put together bits and bobs where we read emails and talk about the Champions League.
This is really sorry. We're going to lose track of ourselves here time wise. This was going to be a quick mention of the draw and onto the other topics. I was out at Christmas with a friend and he has Chat GBT, pays for it, into it, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah. I downloaded it when it first came out. I was skeptical. And he was like, all right then, let's play a little game. And he put in questions Joe Malloy would ask interviewing Roy Keane. It wasn't bad. He's reading it out too much. You laughed. He's like, that is such a Joe Malloy question there. It's an arsey enough one. But then he was like, adjust slightly to be more confrontational, less confrontational. And I swear, it was very passable.
And they could do that with your voice as well.
Well, I mean...
There are technology... Al Michaels in America was used for Olympic coverage. It wasn't him. So there is enough technology there that are we even needed to have this conversation? Are we even having it now? It might be AI.
That's a great question. So yeah, because I thought we'll be fine. Obviously there's some jobs that are just in trouble. I thought we'll be okay, but I don't know.
No one can do what we do.
Yeah.
No, I agree. No one could do this.
I think the kind of sweet spot for us might be like our ineptitude. No, if you have AI and it's kind of perfect, you want stupid opinions.
Yeah.
You want Will talking out his hat again. You kind of need that.
Why me?
The sweet spot for us is bits and bobs because, AI is not going to be able to replicate us talking about a Champions League draw and then getting into an existential crisis.
Yeah, I hope so. And maybe people want a little bit how did you feel?
There we go.
And if it's AI, it's a contrived emotion.
Yeah.
AI could do the URC, I think. That was weeks. We could get AI to maybe take the baton.
We did have a URC emailer in who also, like you, does know the standings in the URC.
I responded to him privately.
Game respects game.
But do you know the way all these media companies now are experimenting with AI? I think New York Times released a statement there about everything they're going to be using AI with now in the newsroom. It's interesting. And a lot of it makes sense and people are still threatened, but they shouldn't really be. But should we experiment? Should we be saying, "Oh, look, we're Endo Sport Podcast is at the forefront of Media House Ireland here. We're gonna try an AI podcast."
Absolutely not. Shut up.
What
are you talking about? Are you mad?
I should shut up. Actually,
if you want to cling to that sense that AI will not be able to predict sport, they had Arsenal as second most likely to win the Champions League. So.
But sure, that doesn't even make sense because it's on the same side of the draw as Liverpool. Well, it does sort of, but it doesn't.
It gave Liverpool a 20% chance. Arsenal have a 16% chance.
So it's definitely saying the winner's coming out of the Aston Villa side of the draw, though.
Well, not definitely, but that's what it says. It had Real Madrid as fifth most likely to win. So look, this is just obviously a first version of AI. Every 2-3 months it gets better. Shamrock Rovers 0, Molde won on the night, went to penalties, and then Molde went through. We had 9,533 interested spectators, Johnny Sexton and Damien Duff included, at the game last night. So it's just a sickener for Rovers, obviously, in a host of fronts. To bow out when the thing has such momentum now is very painful. To lose on penalties is very painful. Played against 10 men for 40 odd minutes in the game. That will feel like a chance gone a begging. And also, and Stephen Bradley touched on it afterwards, they were missing 8 or 9 players. Daniel Cleary, Dylan Watts suspended, Danny Mandreo out injured, not to mention others, Adam Matthews, Jack Byrne, Trevor Clark, Rory Gaffney, who signed a new contract, others. And he was making the point, we played Thursday, then we had to play big game Sunday, Thursday. There's no other league in Europe that does that, coming straight in after your off season, but we were made to do it, and then player welfare comes into it and you pick up injuries. So that was a slight regret of Stephen Bradley's. So it's disappointing. It was a great occasion. When you think of Irish teams in a European knockout tie, you would assume this is going to be 10 men behind the ball, backs to the wall, kind of a, can they nick one kind of a job. But it was actually just a really interesting, well-balanced game, two evenly balanced teams.
It really ebbed and flowed. Like Molde had periods of dominance, then Shamrock Rovers got back on the front foot. And the point you make about the lack of depth and having to rely on the young players is good, because remember after the first set there was those 2 cheap yellow cards that ruled out Cleary and Watts. They proved so vital, because in extra time when Molde were down to 10 men, like Rovers, the bench options they brought on, who actually performed quite well, 16, 17, 18-year-olds, like they actually like really stood up, but they just were missing that little bit of quality and experience, because that game was there for the taking extra time.
They started the game with 7 teenagers on the bench, and then they finished the game with 4 teenagers on the pitch, 2 16-year-olds, 2 18-year-olds, who, like, all of them have a bit about them, I think every time you see Michael Noonan now, you realise this guy's a player.
Yeah, I think the Fine Gael minister is being shoved down the Google search rankings by the day.
Yeah, really promising, and took his penalty with a kind of confidence. And I think it's such a bullshit about the youth confidence. He's not an idiot who doesn't realise the consequences of missing this penalty. He is feeling pressure, but the penalty under that pressure was exceptionally good.
Yeah, no, I was going to say there's no bullshit about it. Again, it's something that AI can't replicate. The bottle to stand up there in front of the Tallaght Stadium and deliver that, and he does.
Well, I don't think AI is taking penalties.
Exactly, Joe.
Exactly,
and it's definitely not taking out the feeling and the pressure that somebody be feeling when they're doing it, because that's the beauty of penalties as well, that you should score and you can score most of the time, but you don't because of the pressure. But Michael Noonan is the sort of guy that you look at him, it's like the cut of his jib immediately.
Victor Arjanua, who Noonan had played at the Aviva, was very good again when he came on, left-sided, bit of trickery. 16.
I thought he was absolutely amazing, considering the circumstances in which he came on, and he didn't look overawed at all. He was taking on defenders. I actually thought he might take a penalty as well. He had that kind of like air about him that I thought he was going to be like, I'll take one as well. I was so impressed with him.
So impressed. And Corey O'Sullivan, also a teenager at left wing back, he grew into the game brilliantly, and actually a lot of excellent play came down Rovers' left-hand side deep into the game. So, it's hard to be too disappointed, obviously, but it's very disappointing. And they're out. It's over. And they have to get back to meat and veg of Cork City at Tallaght on Sunday, and that's kind of where they are. We'll talk more about them, I suspect, next week. Robbie Keane, Ferencváros, by the way, out of the Europa League as well. They were 1-0 up in the first leg. They lost 3-0. And then one other bit of news before we get into emails. Ross Byrne, Gloucester, 3-year deal. 29 years of age now, Ross Byrne, 177 appearances for Leinster, will leave at the end of this season, go in the summer. 22 Ireland caps to his name, a Six Nations winners medal, 4 times a URC winner. I felt so sorry for him over the last 2, 3, 4 years, because it felt like a very slow, public, inevitable closing in on the end of your career. With each passing season, more and more pundits, he's not the guy. And ultimately and brutally, because that is sport, Leinster have reached the same conclusion.
Yeah, it's funny because it now, the announcement confirmed today seems a very obvious move for him to make, given the rise of Sam Prendergast. But it's only last May that he was starting against Toulouse in the Champions Cup final. So while I agree with that, that was certainly the narrative the outside. Leinster were picking him in every single big game up until this season, where you could argue that Andy Farrell almost forced Leinster's hand by going to Sam Prendergast when he did, and it was kind of like the tail wagging the dog a small bit. Because it's not that long ago, when Ireland won the Grand Slam in 2023, Ross Byrne was the backup to Johnny Sexton. No one really felt he was kind of the guy for the future necessarily, but he was there. And
what was terrible during that year when he was the backup was a constant conversation, and I had many of them myself. I've blood in my hands, because you don't feel good about it, but you have to ask questions and get honest answers. The conversation that year was, God, if Sexton gets injured, how big is the drop off? It's enormous. He's living with that.
Yeah,
it's awful.
Yeah, and he's quite a, I suppose, stoic individual. He's not that demonstrative on the pitch, or if you hear Herman in a Leinster press conference, he wouldn't give much away. But we had him on the left wing once or twice over the years, and he's actually really thoughtful and a really interesting interviewee. I think people might be surprised if you heard him. He'd be a very good guy to talk about it, maybe how he's failed in the last couple of years. Because while there was certainly that perception, as I said, he was just starting all these big games. Leinster were very close to winning the last 2 Champions Cups. He would have been the starting out half. Could that have changed the trajectory? Ultimately, I think he wasn't an international Ireland out half. I think he's a good club out half, and he'll be a good guy for Gloucester. He's a very dependable, solid player. But I think kind of the emergence of other players kind of forced this move. But At the same time, it's not that long ago where it looked like he was going to be the incumbent for Leinster, certainly for the foreseeable.
Yeah, well, best wishes to him. We'll reach out to him at some stage. I think it'd be a fascinating chat at some stage. He's still only 29, 3-year deal at Gloucester. Alrighty, so that's kind of a quick hit on what's going on. Emails. Damien Delaney dinner guests. This is a routine thing which comes up in Damien Delaney's life. Never has a man probably did a quick 2-minute chat with a club programme and thought, well, I'll never hear or think of that again. And routinely, new people discovered on the internet all the time. So Connor says, hello, strong contingent of Selbridge Salesian men here. My alma mater.
Wow.
Daily listeners, we've had our interest piqued. While scrolling X, a member of our group came across a Crystal Palace group page. Massive fans of Damien's insight during the football show, but couldn't help but notice his top 5 dinner guests on a Palace match programme circa the mid-2010s. Would love you to ask Damien for a deeper dive on his thought process behind some of these selections. This is not part of a woke brigade trying to get Damien cancelled. Genuinely, we got a good laugh from the read. All the best, Connor. So Damien Delaney's much vaunted dinner guests are Keith Richards, fine. And then obviously he takes a detour. Stalin, Chairman Mao, Napoleon Bonaparte, Genghis Khan. I don't know how many combined people they've killed. But it's probably in the hundreds of millions.
I don't think history does either.
No. Now, what he did say, in fairness to him, is, it's just fascinating. I don't admire these people, but I have a fascination with historical leaders. And he obviously would have, it wouldn't be a dull dinner table. So I'm not going to ask him about this because I think he's over it. He's over being asked about it. But email noted.
I can see why it does get brought up from time to time. To be fair, given that lineup.
Yeah.
I just sort of thought that was him fed up with the press guy asking him for something in the programme, but then the way he justified it afterwards.
He's a wide and interesting hinterland, that man.
Yeah.
He's a free thinker, Damien.
Can't throw a blanket over Damien Delaney.
You can't. You really can't. You never know what he'll think.
Yeah. Each explanation he gives a detailed breakdown of I'm not just a Stalinist when it comes to Russia, or I'm not a Stalinist, sorry, I Tsar era Russia, he really gets in the weeds on them.
Yeah. The Genghis Khan, 15-year-old. Look what he did. So Taylor in Dublin said, Dear team, big fan of the podcast, have been listening since the start, but I feel like we need to address the most recent phrase added to Joe's vocabulary. I read with interest. I did think, oh crap. That is, and more besides. I've been listening to Joe for many years. I've never heard that phrase uttered even once, he says. I think that's unlikely. However, in the last month, it has definitely become the most frequented phrase on the podcast. Lads, love the work. Keep it up. Looking forward to Bits and Bobs live in the sunshine this summer. And more besides, says Taylor.
That's a great email.
Hadn't noticed.
Do you accept the premise? Or
I would say it, yeah. We all have crutches.
I wouldn't have noticed it until I think you were in a Sky read. And then you said it, and I remember doing a Sky read, and I was like, did it actually say that? Did ChatGPT write that out in Joe Malloy style and write
the Sky read said all of that kind of stuff and much more.
Yeah.
And I changed it to and more besides. Yeah. It's just easier to roll off the tongue.
Yeah.
But I'm not going through life going, can I have a cup of coffee, a croissant and more besides? I don't think it's chronic. It just sometimes it comes out. It's never good to know these phrases because now anytime I say it, mentally there'll be a little you're going to hear me kind of stumble because mentally I'm going, you said more besides again. Taylor in Dublin's clocked that. And now everyone else has.
That's not a bad thing. It's worse when you listen back to something. It's I'm still saying that and I didn't notice.
What do you have?
Should I say it, or is that just going to grate with people then?
It'll grate with people. You got to be careful.
Yeah.
But go on.
I think I'm going to, just in the interest of self-improvement.
Yeah.
As well. I say as well a lot. Do you know when people say or and I probably say those as well.
Yeah.
But I put as well in when I'm not actually supposed to say as well. Or
give me an example as well.
Maybe it does work, but I just use it a lot. If I was writing out a paragraph, I wouldn't be using as well. I wouldn't be overusing as well as much. And more besides, there's not just as well.
I wouldn't sweat that one. But that's that is a complete new one on me.
Your words, though, at least make sense in a sentence. I am incapable of speaking without using the word like. It's such an awful habit, and whenever I listen back to anything we've done, I'm like, I just said it there. Yeah. I don't remember saying it at all. I just seem to say it every second word.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. I think the human brain, when it's listening, floats by those words. Unless you're kind of a pedant listening, like with the intention of trying to spot the crutches.
But I'm worried now. Have we opened up Pandora's
Yeah,
box?
you've
Is
probably
the mailbag going to be
Taylor from
flooded now?
Dublin is going to be.
Yeah.
It's very hard.
hammering us.
It's very hard not to have crutch words. You need to buy yourself time, or you just, and more besides, is a handy way to kind of round off a sentence where you're not sure where it's going. If you're doing a list or something, you know.
But your crutch word.
Oh Jesus! Well, hang on.
No, I'm not going to give you a new one.
All
I'm
right,
going to say yours is nice. Like you've conquered your crutch word almost. Like where you have made it sound like you mean to say it.
Yeah.
Like Will's saying like, I'm saying as well. They've been thrown in. We don't even notice it half the time. Yours sounds like you're saying that deliberately, and I think that's a level that me and Will need to aspire to.
No,
get to.
you don't want to be word perfect.
Yeah.
I think increasingly. I think people are suspicious of that.
They think AI.
Yeah. Yeah. So, a few requests in. Hi, lads. Would you consider having Stephen Bradley on your podcast? Many thanks, Ron. Yeah. I mean, will he consider us? I think might be the question. We will send out the invite for Stephen Kenny, Stephen Bradley, Damien Duff, and more besides.
Oh, get them.
Hey,
Get them
lads.
together.
Wouldn't that be something? Jeez, there's an idea.
A round table. Of all
Should we take that in? I don't know. But
I love the idea that we're deciding this. Will we do that?
yeah. We'd already reached out to several of those names. We'll do it again. After today's pod, I don't know. Sorry, Rick, this is about a week old, this email, so I don't know what you're talking about. But you said after today's pod, it made me think of Daniel Whiffen. It would be great to have him on. Have a great weekend. Keep up the good work. We will also reach out to Daniel Whiffen.
Might have been Thomas Barr, maybe.
Several requests in. There was some US correspondence. So Colin Kelly over in the US. We had Marion McKeown and Mark Cannizzaro on our Donald Trump and Sport episode this week, which is worth a listen, I think. Although Colin Kelly over in the US simply emailed to say, Marion and Mark, bombastic nonsense. And then John from Bantry in County Cork was in. And I thought this was just a nice mail. I picture John from Bantry. How's it going, fellas? It's been very amusing to hear Las Vegas get several mentions across the podcast. I live and work here in Vegas, and I listen to the podcast driving my Dodge Ram to and from the Strip each day on my way to work. I'm a big fan. Keep up the good work.
That's brilliant.
Nice, isn't it? Shout out to John in Bantry right now, cruising in his Dodge Ram,
Great.
which is a quintessential American pickup truck.
Yeah.
I googled it. Vegas is now off the menu, actually.
What?
Yeah. It has been trumped by Chicago.
For the All Blacks game?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was just a trip to Chicago for a weekend.
That's a better way of doing it, probably.
You think so?
It's a good kind of halfway between like maybe the madness of Vegas and like an epic sporting occasion.
Yeah, this was a friend's 40th, and I mentioned it a while back. And a bunch of people emailed and said, don't go to Vegas, a terrible idea. But now that it's off the menu, kind of,
Yeah.
that's probably the only chance I would have ever realistically gone to Vegas.
Yeah.
Now it's gone. I've been to Chicago already.
So you're not going to go to that trip?
It's not, I don't want to RSVP on air. Jesus. I was there in 16 for the...
Soldier.
You working out?
Yeah, it was a bit of a jolly though.
Yeah.
Yeah, technically working, but yeah.
I can't believe it's been 9 years since I was kind of
really?
surprised when I saw it. Well, it'll be 9 years by the time the one kicks off in November.
Oh my God.
So long ago.
Time is... Where is it going?
9 years since Robbie Brady was a 24-year-old ripping up France.
Yeah. Well, even that, like, a bunch of friends are turning 40 at the moment is causing a degree of self-reflection, angst,
Yeah.
communication.
You would have only just turned 30, like, given it was 9 years ago, so it's kind of fun. Mad, yeah.
God. Life is long, but the little sections within are bloody short, aren't they?
When's your 40th?
May.
Are you doing anything big for it?
Don't think so.
Vegas?
Not even a party?
I mean, I'd be going on my own. I don't think... No, I don't know. What would you do? I did my 30th on a boat.
Did you?
Yeah, you
Wow.
know, by the on the quays here, you can rent out a boat, and it was fun.
Oh, the one that's actually called the Boathouse, is it? Or
I don't know what it's called. It was all right. It was good. It was fun.
yeah.
No, my
You don't feel the urge to have a huge party?
not really. I'm pretty depressed about turning 40. I counted that to get old as a privilege and all that. So you got to celebrate it. But it's definitely, I'm having a bit of a. God, that doesn't feel... when people say, God, I'm 68, but I feel 17. I don't feel 17, but I definitely don't feel ready to turn 40.
Listeners should email in a few suggestions. Maybe it might help you feel better.
Yeah.
What age do you feel? Because I did find that the other day.
I still feel 34.
I got confused about my age the other day, and I was like, I thought that happens when you're older, but it's actually just in the middle of your 30s, you just forget.
What age are you actually?
36.
You're 6.
And I had that sort of, what age am I? Like,
I think COVID has messed with us a bit as well.
yeah.
Just 2, 3, 4 kind of years, a bit muddled, where you might have been doing other things that you didn't get to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just here calculating. Am I definitely 36? I've said it out loud.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah. Though you'd hate to have had your 20s with COVID.
Or your college years.
College years.
Yeah. Yeah. What age are you? You're younger.
33.
33.
My birthday.
Oh
was
yeah, it's
Tuesday,
his birthday this week.
Oh, wow.
Myself and Gary Neville share a birthday. His got more publicity naturally, but
Sorry, you're turning 33?
I turned 33 on Tuesday. Last Tuesday.
Yeah. I found the next 6 years will go quick. I'm telling you, I in the quickest 5, 6 years of my life. Like, I don't know if COVID's fed into that, but I think it might just be a thing as you get older, it gets quicker.
Yeah. So if you're not going to go for your 40th, I don't know when your next opportunity. You're probably stag do's, right?
No, it's a fair point. And there's a certain irony that me and all my friends now are saying things like, my God, it's gone quick. You got to, like, YOLO. Like, now or never. Yeah. And yet I'm like, no, I won't do anything. I'm sort of missing the point of my angst. Yeah.
A solo trip to Vegas. Just kind of, you can like work out anything you need to work out, but while also enjoying the sights.
Work out anything you need to work out.
Yeah. I would love to have, like 2 lives, just one of them just to do everything I want, which is nothing. Like, just sit around, have a cup of tea, relax and not worry about it. I should be doing something. And then the other one, maybe do, like, go to Vegas and stuff.
Because I was saying to someone yesterday, when the Vegas is off the menu, I was like, you realise when we watched Bradley Cooper in The Hangover and we thought, he's an old man.
Yeah.
He was 34. And I remember thinking, it's a bit tragic, his character going to Vegas.
That's a sobering, like,
isn't it just?
comparison.
Yeah.
What he did here, Pops.
Kind of. And now, like, it's like a 40th rocking up.
Yeah, you're more Zach Galifianakis though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you'll start doing that thing now where it's like, oh, life begins at 50. You'll start, but you're even on the overlap. I heard Gary Neville talking about this list of things he's doing for his 50th year, even though it's his 51st year, but we won't get into the nitty-gritty. But yeah, so that could be another opportunity in 10 years' time.
Look, things are changing that way. Like, you think of him at 50 and you're like, okay, that 50 is changing. Like Steve Martin in Father of the Bride was like 32 or something.
What?
Or maybe it was 30, maybe it was 38. You know, he was in 30s at the time.
Oh,
at the time, you're like...
Yeah.
So it is different now.
Yeah. So what age was his daughter? She was probably just young, get married. That's why he wasn't ready for it, yeah.
He might have been young.
Good film.
I actually watched it again recently. It's very good.
She got married recently, so I bet you watched it in the build-up to that.
myself.
Well, the scene where he plays basketball with his daughter has the flashback.
Oh, I got goosebumps there,
Jeez, I can't watch that now.
Yeah.
That's taken on a whole different kind of resonance.
Yeah.
Sorry, let's snap ourselves out of this. We're
Can I
young,
just say-
we're healthy.
We need an
our whole
upbeat
lives
email.
ahead of us.
Well, while we're on
We need an upbeat email.
Yeah,
subject of Father of the Bride, because I've been waiting for this to come up.
How could you have been possibly waiting for Father of the Bride to come up?
There's one big flaw in that film is she's going off on her honeymoon, just like, but she can't find her dad in the house.
Oh, yeah.
And he's taking every irritating route around the house to try and get to her, and then he's watching her walk out the front door and he can't get down the stairs. Just wait 2 minutes and he'll come round and get you at the front door, and then you can say bye to him properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it sort of worked as well.
It's a lovely film.
It's lovely, yeah. I can't remember Father of the Bride 2.
So the plot is that his
baby.
daughter and his wife are having babies at the same time.
Oh, sorry, I saw that. Yeah.
I just remembered.
I watched that one. We watched them back to back. They're actually both very good.
Yeah. What do you call it? Frank, was it?
Frank, yeah.
So he comes in and it's like, Father of the Bride and now the baby. And
He's in, and they're now in Only Murders in the Building.
yeah. I only started watching that, but I haven't gotten around to it.
It's okay. I wouldn't go overboard on it. It's okay.
Okay, I might not finish it then.
Right, let's get ourselves out of this. A lot of kettlebells correspondence on various platforms. So I did kettlebells for the first time about 2 weeks ago, and I thought, oh my God, I've never had a workout like it. That was the ultimate. It now turns out I would miss the next day at work sick, so I was actually coming down with something. So I've since done it, and it's not as punishing as I had thought.
Okay.
Yeah, so I want to just revise there's nothing like kettlebells. That's not true. I was actually, when I was like, I feel sore all over, I was sore all over with like a kind of a bug.
Your body could have also though gotten used to it after one workout, and second time wouldn't have been as grueling anyway.
That's unlikely. After one?
I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Watch enough Rocky films, you believe it?
So John says, let me save you some time, money, physio bills, groans of pain when you sit down on the toilet, and an inflation of your golf handicap. He knew the way in. That one. I too joined the many people on the kettlebell craze about 10 years ago. I was in my late 30s. Strangely enough, I can't find your age on the internet, but I did learn that Joe Malloy, former general manager of the Yankees, was born in 1961. Anyway, he says, you're no spring chicken.
That's tough.
Isn't it? That added to my angst when I saw it. I was like, is that how I'm perceived?
Yeah. Is that worse than Jim Gavin thinking you're the same age?
Yeah, same generation.
You didn't like that.
This is a tough episode.
Sorry, he said it twice.
Yeah. And
The first time I thought you misspoke.
Yeah. It's the second time you really weren't being forgiven. And he said, are we not in the same age bracket? And you said, I hope not.
Sorry, this is my 8 when he won the All-Ireland. Anyway, you're no spring chicken. I wasn't either when I took up kettlebells. I was at it a couple of months, so it wasn't like he was a newbie. A couple of months, really enjoyed it until one day, bit similar to what you were describing, a young lady beside me, half my size, was using 18 kg weight with ease. So ego took over and I picked up the same weight. A few minutes later, I bent down to raise the weight and I let a scream after pulling something in my back. He says, I was 16 at the time. Sorry, I was playing off 16 at the time, golf handicap. And couldn't play golf for the next 6 months, in addition to physio bills and not being able to sleep properly. Visiting the physio for the first time, he said with a wry smile that he'd be out of business if it wasn't for kettlebells. The kettlebell now functions as a weight for keeping doors open and securing things that might blow away in a storm. I suggest you do the same with yours. I now walk the dog, play a bit of squash, and I play off a 7 handicap.
Wow.
Stick to the paddle, says John Michael.
So skill over brawn is what he's recommending for the golf game.
Yeah, I mean, he lifted an 18 kg one, and it sounds like he kind of bent over to lift it. You know, did you engage your legs here, John? Were you bent at the knees, or did you just bend over and try and pick it up?
I think he has a good lesson in there, though. Don't overestimate what you can lift if you're ever in the gym. Like, if you see someone your size doing something, do not just say, oh, I'll try to do that as well. Just try to pace yourself.
Well, I remember Diarmuid Connolly saying, and remember Connolly in that warm-up where he had the sleeveless vest on. Like, you know, Joe Brolly was like, look at him, Jesus, you know, the RTE panel. And I remember he did an interview a while back and he was saying he never lifted heavier in the gym than like 20, 25 kg dumbbell. Might have been 20. Which is very manageable.
Doable, yeah.
Yeah. That's not someone I'm pushing to the limit. So I think there is probably a healthy degree of ego in the gym.
Yeah, I suppose you would get a bigger pump with more reps. Like that doesn't help with hypertrophy, doesn't it? Like it does increase the pump, but obviously you're not going to get stronger.
I just hear him pump.
Yeah, you're using a lot of lingo there.
Yeah. My crutch word has become pump. So, but you obviously not going to get stronger. You know, in the long run doing it, but Diarmuid Connolly is already strong enough, so yeah. And he's a footballer, and he's obviously spent a lot of time kicking the ball with his left and right foot, like the email they're talking about practicing the golf game.
Yeah. Well, there we are. I did it a second time, and it was grand. It was good. It's just tough, those types of exercises. You get a burst, and then the boredom kicks in. Can never stick with those types. You get hit, spinning, kettlebells. Need a sport. You know, you need to be chasing after something or hitting something.
How often do you play golf?
Oh, since fatherhood?
No, but how often a week do you play it? Oh yeah, sorry, yeah.
It's like, how many times a year might be a better question.
Yeah.
Like 5 times a year now.
Okay.
Less. I think last year I played about 3 times.
Tried to get into it a few years ago and it's just a big commitment.
It's a big commitment.
Especially when you're not good.
It take you guts of a decade to go good. I got down to single figures, but I mean, that was 20. Took it up to 25. I'd say it took 7-8 years to get near single figures. And I was practicing a lot, I felt. Maybe that's slow progress. I don't know. It's hard though. Like it's such a hard sport. Yeah.
Very frustrating. One summer, I think it was 2 years ago, and I did feel like I was making a bit of progress, but like nowhere near being good at it. And I just found the time commitment so hard, you know, because it's 4 hours out there,
and it's 7 of your day really
traveling,
and you're just collapsed on the couch afterwards.
Yeah,
it's kind of an underestimated thing that these guys play 4 days in a row in competition and practice around the day before. I've
no idea how to do it because even coming just trying to do an 18 hole once every few weeks, like you're wrecked coming down the last 6 holes or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's one of those ones where I would love somebody to find a hack, but there probably is none, of how to get better faster at golf.
I do feel that's a real cliched line though. The physio says, I'd be out of business if it wasn't for insert whatever. AstroTurf, skiing.
Yeah.
You name it. Hello, bits and bobbers. I'm a casual League of Ireland fan. I used to follow Kildare County back in the day. I would love to see a Kildare side back in the league if ran correctly. I think a Kildare team could be relatively successful. Apart from Kildare, where else do you think would be a good fit for a League of Ireland team? Keep up the good work, Jamie. Well, certainly on Kildare, I think you are 1,000,000% correct. It has a population, the county, of 250,000 people and no League of Ireland team. I mean, that is just ripe, you would think. Yeah. Meath has 200,000 people. Again, ripe enough. So of the top division at the moment, we have the 4 Dublin clubs in Bows, Pats, Shells and Rovers. The 6 outside of Dublin are Cork, Galway, Drogheda, Waterford, Sligo and Derry. So that's our top division. And then second division, or first division rather, Athlone, Dundalk, Kerry, Wexford, Bray, Treaty United in Limerick, Finn Harps in Donegal and UCD. So kind of a better spread than you might think. But Kildare definitely.
That's the one jumping out.
Kilkenny City was dissolved in 2008. You would think a city team. They only like one sport there though, you know what I mean? Is there room for anything other than hurling? In the summer? I don't know if they want that. And then Monaghan obviously was a big loss, 2012. They'd been gone since the 1890s and they're gone. But Kildare's a shout. I was wondering, the county of Antrim with Belfast has 650,000 people. Yeah. Could there be a Derry-esque League of Ireland club established in West Belfast?
Yeah, Cliftonville maybe. Like actually Belfast is an interesting one because I don't think there's enough representation on the Republic of Ireland team from Belfast. There was one there last year, and it just made me think, like, geez, we don't really get enough players coming through. If you think about how many players come through from Derry to go on and represent Ireland, Belfast is probably not pulling its weight on that front, obviously.
Because they play for Northern Ireland, or because they're just not producing?
Not producing as many players who would play for the Republic of Ireland, I suppose, is the question. Like, or the real issue there. Like, yeah, players that do produce probably more likely to play for Northern Ireland.
Okay, but of the Republic leaning players, just not many of them are being produced, as opposed to we're producing a load of players who are of a nationalist background but they're playing for Northern Ireland.
No, I don't think that's the case. Like,
okay.
So I think, like, just for being the second biggest city on the island, I think there'd be more players from it. But I did have an idea a while back, and I don't know if League of Ireland Die Hard it would fit into the calendar for it, but like every couple of years you'd have an All Ireland. And it's 32 teams and it's run off like a World Cup, and you have Antrim, you have Derry, and obviously Derry City have a team, but it's only players from Derry that could play for Derry. So if Derry only have 7 players playing for Derry City, then they have to go into their Derry and District Sunday morning league and round up the next best players and then put them forward. And obviously Dublin would clean up in your little AA model, but football's not played on an AA model. So if you had this every couple of years,
it's one of the worst ideas I've ever heard.
Then you would Michael Noonan would be playing for Kildare.
Shocker.
Then you would start seeing these players prop up a bit more.
That's a terrible idea. It's just so bad.
What's wrong with that?
I don't even know where to start.
Not even an emailer would send that in.
No, I wouldn't even read that out.
This would be great for cross community as well. I mean, Linfield.
Oh, don't use that.
Are you going to say no to this now?
The kids would love it.
Antrim playing Dublin in the final.
Wouldn't even get a private response.
No. That'll get a copy and paste. Thanks for the email. Kind of don't want to drag this out. It's a Friday. Everyone's got things to do. There was one, by the way, which I agree with. Michael was talking about how we're reporting the GAA scores at the moment. So he does think like it's too convoluted for the 2-pointers to have 1 as in 1 goal, 3 as in 3 points, and then a 6 as in 6 doubles. He thinks a 1, 3, 6. That's a lot of maths. But he thinks we should keep the score as it is. So say a team had 112. You'd write it as 112, but then in brackets you would just have like 2D, as in 2 doubles.
Yeah.
I do think now, when I look at a scoreline now, I want to know how many doubles were in that.
Yeah,
and I want to know quickly, and I don't want to go and read the match report.
I just love the use of doubles. I think it's 2-pointers are so watery and clunky. Just calling them doubles, I haven't really heard that, so I like Michael's suggestion for that alone. Let alone how you actually write it, because it's become so cumbersome and like time intensive to like scan the kind of scores to find out who scored what and when. But just calling them doubles, I am a fan of.
Okay, so let's say 112 and in brackets 2D, 3D.
The one letter definitely helps it as well.
Brilliant, Michael. Rubber stamped. That's an idea.
It's a very good idea because it is
not whatever. baked up there a minute ago. and then you could have like a bonus sub, but he comes from another county.
Look, we'll come back to the World Cup idea another time, but that is it's so important to your point about knowing how many 2-pointers there are, because I think Derry drew with Galway last week, and Derry actually outscored them by 15-10 or something.
Right.
So in the context of the game, and then you start realising how important these bloody things are. Like we played our first club league match in the Dublin League.
Oh yeah.
At the weekend, and
you're managing, coaching,
selecting, yeah.
Right.
And the other team had 7 points at halftime, but they scored 3 2-pointers.
Did they? Yeah.
So then, like for us, it's like, oh my god, like stop this happening! Like they're in the game because they're scoring 3 2-pointers.
And is
three doubles?
Is your
3
Ds? Yeah. Is your average club player having no problem swinging over a double?
There was a wind in that game. So, there were 5 Ds in the game. So we got 2 in the second half. With the wind, they got 3. I saw Rob Henley scored 3 though.
Did he? Yeah.
For Raheny.
So is this the first time the double thing? We're hearing 2
I
pointers.
haven't heard of it. It's 2-pointers everywhere.
All right, Michael, you're onto something with the doubles.
Because you just said doubles so casually.
It's beautiful.
I was just like, that sounds so much better.
I just assumed it was in everyone was using it.
I could be completely wrong here, but I don't think I am. I think Michael deserves the credit.
Yeah.
Officially by the GA.
Now, myself and Michael have come with great ideas.
And did the Scaries folk approve of the new rules? Did you have that game of football and think, you know what, this is the life. This is good.
Yeah, it's good. It's interesting. And like I said, I'm completely compromised now because I've been in here talking about the goalkeeper rule. And now it sort of works a little bit. We're trying it out.
You don't like the goalkeeper?
Well, I don't like it as a GA man, but now as a Scaries man, do I think about it differently? Maybe I do.
Right. You're liking it. Okay. I think we're pretty much good. There's one last email I just wanted to mention. He emailed in, and his friend emailed in. He's doing a really extraordinary thing, and his family have been through terrible time, and he's kind of reacting in a way which is just so admirable. So it's Rob who emailed in, and he said, firstly, yes, Joe, you owe me a hug. I was at the live show. I think I said if I ever bumped into you and you've come to the live show, I'll give you a hug.
Yeah, on the street, just come up to me.
That little opener descended.
There was 500 people there.
Yeah. He says, however, that's not why I'm getting in touch. This February, I'm taking part in a challenge which I created called Ultra Freeze for the Irish Cancer Society, and he's aiming to raise €28,000. 28 days in February, €28,000 for the Irish Cancer Society. Like I said, he has skin in the game here, Rob. He's been through it. So he has created Ultra Freeze. It goes as follows. 1st of February, I run 28 kilometres and I spend 1 minute in the sea. The next day, 27 kilometres, 2 minutes in the sea. And it keeps going in that kind of ratio. So somewhere around the middle of the month, it might be 14k run, 14 minutes in the sea. And by the end of the month, he'll just do a 1k run and 28 minutes in the sea. So day one, it's 28k run, 1 minute in the sea. And it'll go in accordance to 1k run and 28 minutes in the sea. You get the gist. It's tough.
I was trying to think which is the hardest there, because 28 minutes standing on the sea after only 1k of running.
Yeah. But I mean, running 28k and then getting up the next day to do your 27.
Yeah, actually.
And you got 26 to look forward to tomorrow. He said, as of last night, this was a few days ago, as of last night, I've run 235 kilometres and I've spent 55 minutes in the Irish Sea, mainly at the 40 foot in Dunleary, and I've raised over €8,000 for the Irish Cancer Society in 10 days. All updates can be caught on my Instagram. It's at FreezeBerty24, FREEZBERTY 24. Yours in freezing cold water, Rob. So, Rob, fair play. Amazing. Really is. Yeah. Anyone wants to throw a few quid Rob's way, there you go. FreezeBerty24, and you can do it. And Jesus, best of luck. It's no joke.
Oh my God.
28 minutes in the sea.
Yeah. So hang on, I'm trying to think. I think maybe day 10 might be the worst there, where you're still getting up and doing 18k of running, and then you're doing 10 minutes in the sea then?
Yeah. And it's still very cold. 2-3 minutes in the sea at the moment is... Oh, maybe it's warmed up a touch, but not much.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's incredible.
Yeah. No, brilliant. So well done, Rob. Good man. That's us, I think. That was a Friday Mailbag edition. We will reconvene on Monday. There is another episode in your feed later today. Conor McKeown went to the darts last night in Dublin, and Will was talking to Luke Littler, so we'll combine the two of them.
More besides.
And more besides. Yeah, can never say it again now. Will, thank you. Conan, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, everyone.